Hey, what's up, metal and heavy music fans? It's Flightovicarus again with MetalTrenches.com, and it's time to explore more of your requests and recommendations in search of the best new metal albums on Bandcamp. And hey, if you're into that sort of thing, I've got a whole playlist full of these things that I'm going to put down in the description, and also other reasons to subscribe. I do tier lists, album reviews, and interviews with these bands. But let's get right into it. We're going to start with Idem from Australia. Death metal band. Hailing from Australia, Idem is a 4-piece death metal outfit pushing the boundaries of extreme music. Like the cover, very cool. Got this little eerie intro, and then we are going to kick into high gear here with some serious brutality. No problems there. Nice harsh vocals, like the deep throaty, gurgly style vocals. A little bit of prog in the guitars, not a ton, mostly just brutal. I know I get the prog people upset when I use that term incorrectly sometimes, especially like my Gojira video. Oh hell yeah! Nice little kick up with the pacing there. Oh yeah. And as always, I'll put all the links down in the description along again with that playlist of this series and some other playlists too with some of my other videos that you can check out. Let's see what else we got. Oh yeah. Sick vocals. Like, I'm always kind of on the fence about just sort of straight up brutal death metal, but certain stuff just does it right. I'm enjoying this. I think I could use a little bit more vocal variation, but I do appreciate, kind of reminds me of Worms in some ways. I think Worm is like the ultimate in sort of the apex of this style, but there are some similarities I'm hearing. Ooh, nice little guitar solo here too. A whole package here. Nice chug going here. And it's only $4.29 in US dollars. I'm liking it. This is good. Good shit. Production's really solid too. Oh, nice little drum and bass break there. So yeah, that's Idem. I'm impressed. I want to spend a little bit more time with this for sure, and hopefully you'll do the same. So you know where to find it now. Alright, then we've got the Black Hounds from Wolverhampton, UK, 4-piece groove metal band. Been sitting on this one for a little while because it hadn't dropped the full album yet. Very kind of Amon Amarth sounding opening here. Kind of like this little simple cover or two. Very aesthetically pleasing. Yeah, that's super like Amon Amarth sound. I like that. Nice little guitar harmonies. Skip forward a little bit. So we got a little bit of a little bit of power metal vocals mixed in here, which I don't mind. I'm not a big power metal fan, but when they're mixed up with the death metal stuff, I kind of like the interplay of those two styles. There's some soloing here. Is there anything wrong with that? Go to another track here. Yeah, very, like, the guitar just seems very inspired by Amon Amarth, but then the kind of vocal approach, actually that riff there is very similar to the Lamb of God riff. Sounds like Laid to Rest a little bit. Yeah, the way they're bouncing these vocal styles off of each other is kind of interesting. I don't feel like they're quite there yet, but there's something there. There's definitely something there. Kind of reminds me a little bit too of what... Actually, that part, continuing the comparison train, that sounds more like Kill Switch Engage, Howard Jones style vocal there. So kind of all over the place. I'll be interested to hear from the band if I nailed anything in particular that they were going for, or at least something that they tend to enjoy. Here, this is like a Tool guitar riff. I'm curious to know how old these guys are too, because I feel like they're coming out of the age of influences exactly that I grew up with. All right, we've got Abysslooker from Russia. Album's Burden. Another kind of cool looking cover here, like that. Reminds me a little bit of like the Three Teeth aesthetic, even though they're very different style. We got post-metal and doom with a strong, it's hard to read this, strong influence of sludge. Like that bass line. Nice little groove there. Good tone. Production strong on this one. Ooh, I like that implementation of the acoustic there. Interesting. Very ominous, kind of low-key but still vicious sounding vocals. It reminds me a little bit the guitars here on Alaskan, which are no longer a thing, but they were a very solid sludge group that you can find on Bandcamp. Sometimes maybe I should throw in some like older things that I discovered in the past couple years, thanks to other people. Like that, I love the bass. Like that bass is really kind of a standout for me right now. We got some clean singing too. Getting some like Mastodon vibes here. A little bit of more like Crack the Sky kind of on the slower parts. I like that. Just very intense, harsh sounding stuff here too. Got a lot of acoustic, and I hear like maybe even some mandolin in the background. So y'all know me, I can be kind of impatient at times, so I'm not sure this would be something that I would be throwing on repeat. But again, I want to, the whole point of this segment is to get you all to check these things out and to put this stuff out there for people who might have missed it, who are into all these different styles. So definitely check it out. And again, there's a playlist of these. Please do subscribe to the channel. I try to put these out almost like weekly in addition to the other album reviews and roundups, interviews, all that good stuff. All right, this next request was for something really entirely different, to sort of quote Monty Python there. This is Emphysema, or Emphysema, to the little play on words there, with Unadulterated Bliss, and they're from Columbus, Ohio. Ode to the Logic 8 fake harpsichord sound and my 25-year-old self. And I believe this is, all done by one person, I think. It was actually recommended by Lou Kelly, who mixed, mastered, and manipulated this album. You should definitely check out Lou Kelly's page on Bandcamp. He just does wild and crazy stuff as well. He did kind of like this weird, almost like symphonic mathcore album made up of like kind of more orchestral instrumentation. It's best you just check it out for yourself. It was one of my favorite albums of that year. I think that was maybe 2018. But yeah, so then he reached out to me and said I should check this out. It's definitely not necessarily metal per se, but I'm all about recommending all the weird and strange things out there, things that are sort of metal adjacent, if you will. I like this stuff. I'm more fond when there's vocals, but I'm not opposed to instrumental stuff at all. In fact, I've come across a few instrumental bands that I really enjoyed. But yeah, if you're into this like weird kind of kookier soundscapes, here you got a more symphonic sounding epic opening here. There's a lot of just weirdness, almost like David Lynchian kind of strangeness going on here, in fitting with this album cover. But it's also very like whimsical. I think that's a good word for it. Okay, here we go. If you want something a little heavier, a little bit more metal sounding. This almost reminds me of like Genghis Tron. Yeah, interesting stuff. I love weird out there fusions. Just people doing different things. Kind of reminds me of like Jonan Vasquez artwork. Johnny the Homicidal Maniac. And I do enjoy piano, so this is cool. So yeah, if you want something weird, you want to break out of your usual rut, and you need something to sort of shift the sound palette, then definitely check out Emphysema. And the album is Name Your Own Price, so hey, no excuses. Alright, then we've got Dismal Reverie from Portland, Oregon, with Fauna to Fiend. Experimental metal projects from Kevin Ross of Soul Grinder. Getting some like doomier intro here. Home to a twisted landscape of rugged black metal riffs, regurgitated vocals, and strange cosmic stories. I'm into that. Like the album art too. Got kind of a Portland vibe to it. Very like second wave like black metal look too, with the just sort of like lower tier kind of artwork, but also very cool color palette. A little doomy for me. Again, I'm just not huge on doom. There's a few bands out there like Primitive Man that really get my motor running. But I know a lot of people out there that this definitely gets their motor running. So it's kind of like Black Sabbath-y riffs with more black metal vocals, thrown in some more kind of old school style vocals in there too. Okay, we got some more kind of groovier, upbeat moments on here as well. In some ways it reminds me of, I'm gonna blank again. There's this other black metal band that is on the tip of my tongue right now that has a kind of vaguely similar sound. It was there and it was gone. Cultus Agulus. Cultus Agulus has some kind of similar vibes to this, especially on their later stuff. I like this part. Picked up a little bit. Almost reminds me of like a Queens of the Stone Age riff on this part. Nice little bobbing groove. I like that one. There we got some more rocking guitars on some of these. So this is why it's important to check out a couple songs before you make a decision, because I might have just listened to that first one and decided that maybe not for me, but there's a little bit more pacing differences and texturing here that I would have missed. It's a cool kind of heavy metal-y guitar riff here. This reminds me a little bit of Rebel Wizard. Did a review of them recently, so definitely, or him I should say. A little piano interlude here. Yeah, it seems like there's a decent amount going on here in a couple of different directions. Yeah, another one with that sort of just old school heavy metal influences. So if you're into all that kind of stuff, definitely check out Dismal Reverie. And I can't tell you how much this one is to buy because it's already in my collection, so you'll just have to check them out for yourself. Alright, and then we're going to round this episode off with another weird one. We've got Synth Witch, or Synthvvitch. Reminds me of the movie, The Witch, the Vvitch, from Rochester, New York. Baby, the Inferno is here now. Post-synthetic metal is what they're calling it. Starting with the last song. Let me start with the first song first. Okay, we got some piano intro here. It's appropriate for Synth Witch. Yeah, very big atmospheric opener. I think full instrumental with this one. 8-minute song too. Ballsy opener. Digging the atmosphere. And then we roll into Potter's Field. Ooh, that's lovely. Kind of reminds me in a weird way of MGMT, at least their earlier stuff. I like MGMT. I listen to stuff besides just metal. It's good to have a diverse palette. Makes you appreciate the heavier stuff even more, I would say. Yeah, little droney for my taste, but again, I know there are those people out there that eat that stuff up, so I don't want to deprive them of this. But it seems well composed, and I like the quality of the sound. Kind of a mix of some modern styled stuff with a little bit more raw, kind of black metal ethos. Yeah, and we've even got some backup, like, kind of post-blacky vocals here. Low key, not too high in the mix, but enough to just add that extra layer of kind of aggression and weirdness. This one reminds me a little bit of Botanist. Obviously you don't have the hammered dulcimer really, but it's got like a vaguely similar kind of melodic sound to it, naturey sound. If you're not familiar with Botanist, definitely check them out too. I actually did an interview with the dude behind Botanist, and he is so cool. Very interesting guy, even let me premiere a track on that episode of the podcast, so worth giving that a listen. One of the most interesting and innovative projects in black metal, I would say. Yeah, the more I listen now, the more I'm getting those kind of Botanist vibes, so that's cool. Just more synth driven, of course. So this is cool. Interesting. I dig it. Check them out. Another one that's already in my collection, so you'll have to give it a look to see what it's gonna run you, but worth checking out for sure. But yeah, I think that'll do it for now. 6 more bands I believe we went through now that you should definitely check out and that I consider to be some of the most interesting new things I've heard on Bandcamp. Keep the requests coming, and I'll continue this in future episodes. Again, there is a playlist if you want to get more of this. And then there's also playlists for my other series around just new reviews and recommendations, best albums of 2020, my tier list rankings, and again, the podcast. So check all those out. And once more, please do subscribe if you haven't already, because what are you doing? Like, there's so much music to get into, and we can have a good time checking it all out together. But also down in the description, you can find links to our social media, the email newsletter, metaltrenches.com, where you can find even more reviews and recommendations, and also our Patreon and Subscribe Star if you want to make that extra jump to becoming a supporter. But that'll do it for now. Flight of Icarus signing off. I will see you in the trenches.